Broadcasting from the Vancouver Convention Center in British Columbia, Solutions Review is on location at the FME User Conference 2022, the peak of data integration. Brought to you by Safe Software.
I'm Doug Atkinson, and we are here at the FME User Conference 2022 in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I couldn't be happier than to be joined by Dale Lutz, co-founder of Safe Software. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to be here because ultimately this is your event, and it's a beauty.
Thank you.
And it's great to be back in person again at a live event. I was happy to be in your keynote address earlier with your co-founder Don, and it's amazing where you guys have gone. You highlighted the growth that you've been going through over the past few years.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what you've seen happening in your space.
Well, if we go all the way back for the 28 years, it's gone from being very, very tiny to international. But specifically in the last 3 years and over COVID, the demand for data integration products, the importance of spatial data to organizations continued to just skyrocket. And so we've been very fortunate to be in this niche for many, many years and have a wonderful set of partners around the world. And all of them tell us the same thing, that their main constraint is really just human resources to have the ability and the skills to deploy things. But the demand is certainly there. And the other thing that's gone on is that the volume of data that people collect, the technology curve in terms of the collection and creation of data, has continued to just generate mountains and mountains more of data. And that also fuels people's interest in our products. The last thing I'd say is that for a data integration company, we don't want to cheer for more places where data goes, because more work for us, but people keep inventing interesting new things. And as they invent interesting new things, then there's an opportunity for us to create solutions for getting data in and out of those interesting new things. And that also has played a key role in all the growth.
Well, so I want to go into the Wayback Machine for a little bit with you, because we've been talking to your partners, we've been talking to customers. Your partners have been around for decades.
Yes.
It's really impressive, and you guys have been around for a couple of decades or more. But talk a little bit, because both you and Don are technical guys, and yet you're still together. You're still growing this thing, and you both found your niche. Tell me a little bit about what the opportunity was that you were trying to solve initially, and how you've built this culture around that, path for
Yes.
innovation.
Yeah, I mean, initially we were trying to help here in our province the government exchange information with forest companies. And back when we began, there wasn't really a standard obvious way to do that. There were different computer systems used in the forest companies and different ones used in the government. And so this happened all over the world, but the government created a neutral format called SAFE, S-A-I-F, and the company's name, Safe Software, was a joke on that. We thought, and this SAIF was actually brilliant. It was way ahead of its time. Very smart people in the BC government put that thing together. In modern times, elements of the OpenGIS consortium standard called GML, the guy who was one of the architects of GML was actually also a consultant on the SAIF product many years before. So anyway, we thought this SAIF thing was going to take over the world. We thought we'll make a company that's going to build software to take things in and out of it. And that was how we got rolling to solve that problem. And then it turned out that this problem, much to our actually delight and surprise, was very widespread and all over the world. It wasn't SAIF, but it was other things. And so we began to find opportunities in markets all over the place. I mean, our first, we went all the way to the province of Saskatchewan. That was our first big journey. Woohoo. Sorry, Saskatchewan friends. But no, that was a key piece. And then from there, it went to all over in Europe, all over in America, and it just never looked back.
Well, that's one of the most notable things that we've seen in interviewing the partners, is how international this event is.
Yes.
It's incredible. I mean, We've talked to folks from the Netherlands, Germany, Spain, the UK, Australia, just in this morning.
Yeah.
So it's really quite remarkable. And all of them have been with you for a long while, and all of them are incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you've created this very unique value proposition around spatial data within a data integration solution.
Yeah.
Where do you see this going? Because it's like you're on the crab, as they say in The Deadliest Catch. So where do you see this going?
See, I think one of the things that has caused our partners to be so successful, I've heard customers say this to me, that FME, our product, is an outrageously powerful tool. It can solve problems beyond people's belief, actually. But put FME in the hands of an expert, and suddenly that's an exponential thing. And that's why these partners have been so successful. They have the years of expertise, they walk in there and they can solve things in a fraction of the time as other options would be, and a fraction of the expense for the customer. So that's a win for everybody in the game. Where does this go? What's happening is that because of our spatial roots, we typically start we call it a land and expand strategy. We start in the GIS or the spatial part of the operation organization. But here's the funny secret. It turns out if you're going to be able to solve a spatial data integration problem, that is a heck of a lot harder, frankly, than solving just a normal data integration problem where there is no spatial. So we actually did the hard stuff first, and then FME gets legs and walks over to the general IT group and says, hey, here we are. And you're going to hear tomorrow, there's going to be a keynote of a municipality that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden they're using FME for all kinds of other things that don't involve spatial, because by the way, we had to solve all that hard stuff anyway. Your job with Excel spreadsheets is actually a little bit easier, and we've seen all the troubles there can be, and we have all the tools you need to make that problem easier.
Well, that's the fascinating thing, is that the land and expand is interesting. It's almost, I've got to believe that most of your new clients these days are coming out of something that just has stopped working for them as they've started to realize that they have this data that they need to bring in, maybe spatial, maybe not necessarily, but that they just have kind of run out of ramp, and that the data integration solutions they currently have right now just aren't going to be sophisticated enough.
Yes, and we do see that. I mean, I have a lot of respect for people that we bump into. There's a lot of wonderful products out there, but we've had a misfortune of picking a very hard problem to begin with, and that is now our bonus, because we've been fighting hard, complicated data for 28 years. And so then when we get simpler situations, we can actually flex a little bit. Like today, when I showed the usage stats, the number 2 thing up there was Excel. It wasn't a spatial format. And so people are using our stuff to solve business problems. And what's going on, the amount of data they have to deal with, the number of places that's coming from. A key piece of our modern success is because we're very fortunate, our architecture that Don designed long ago makes it really easy to connect to web services. And that's where lots of data is hiding behind. We can suddenly add value instantly. I'll make one more point. Another reason why we get customers, what's our competition? Of course, there's some competing products, but often our competition is code made in-house. Well, let's think about that. Coders are rare, they're expensive, they tend to leave things behind that only they know how to deal with, whereas we ride over the hill, people can use our libraries and draw a simple diagram that is much easier for the next person to understand. And so the productivity increase is fantastic, and that ends up being a key reason why we continue to expand.
Well, and so I want to talk about expanding, because I saw a tweet by you earlier this month around the incredible bulk mode. So talking about expanding capacity, yes?
Yes.
Around the FME data volumes.
Yes.
Which had a picture of you in a nice Bruce Banner shade of green.
Yes. So it's like not He-Hulk attorney at law. It's Dale Hulk programmer at large or something. Yes, I don't know. But what that's all about, we had a little bit of fun with the title, and that's a talk I'm going to be giving with one of the architects tomorrow afternoon. But because of our roots, again, you, like Wayne Gretzky said, you got to be good to be lucky, but you got to also be lucky to be good. And when we started, that SAIF format I mentioned, the spatial archive and interchange format, was actually a very miserable, unruly format. And we could never know that the next thing that was coming in was the same as the one we just had. So we built a very flexible architecture and system that can handle anything coming at us. And that is what's allowing all the amazing stories that you're going to hear this week of that customers solve. We had this really flexible, amazing thing. But in the modern era, and I say the modern era starting around maybe 2014, when data volumes began to move from hundreds of thousands to millions, then our wonderful flexible architecture started to be a pretty big millstone on our back. So if you give me 1 million records that are the same, but I have designed that every one of them is different, possibly, I'm carrying a lot of overhead around. Right. And so that's what this bulk mode that we created was. And that allows us to say, hey, wait a minute, the next 1 million things are going to be basically identical. Okay, we're going to handle them in an optimized way. We still have the old way, and users don't actually have to do anything different. They both absolutely work in unison under the hood of our product. They don't know that they're using one or the other, but we're making a decision to use the most optimized thing. And so it's been quite a journey rolling this through the product. I had a quote up from Bill Gates today where he says, you're going to get less done in 1 year than you think and more in 10. In our case, we so badly wanted this to be done in, say, 2017. We're on track to actually complete the rollout as we intend today at the end of this year. And it's sort of another one of these technology curve things. You can see it roll out. And we had a table in our talk about the multiple times improvements on many of our processing things. There's some that are as many as 30,000 times faster. That's the winner. But there's other ones that are like 50, 10, whatever, all because of this enormous rollout that we did. But it's all around the fact that customers' data is so much larger than it used to be, and we need to react. So I'm very proud of what the team did.
Well, it's got to be exciting to see that because I'm sure you've seen that coming, and now you're seeing it actually. A lot of the cultural resistance go down with regard to moving things to the cloud.
Yes.
There's a lot of younger decision makers, I think, starting to become influential in larger organizations who can see the value of not building internally but outsourcing to folks like yourself. You know, when you sit here as a co-founder at an event like this, in front of a keynote crowd like you did this morning, and highlighting the growth that you've had, I'm curious to just get your perspective on kind of what it's been like for the past, 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
how does it feel to be where you're at these days?
As I was about to get on the stage, remember, I'm a little bit rusty. I haven't been on the stage for 3 years. And maybe I'm a little bit older, and the pandemic has made me a little more introspective. I got extremely emotional walking up those steps. I knew I had to get it together, but if you'd had a camera on me for those few seconds, because I was a bit overwhelmed. All these people that, many of them that I've known for so long that rely on the work we do, and here we are, and it is... You know, one of the things that I hold very important is to remain humble and thankful, but it is really an honor to have had the privilege to have created something that is being used by so many people. And I remember at the beginning going for some of our early trade shows, older folks in the industry would come over, ask what we're doing, and they laughed at us. They patted us on the back like we were sort of these misguided Boy Scouts that. We're filling this need that was very hard that none of them thought was worth doing. And here we are having put in the hard work, and there was a lot of long hours in the beginning. And in my memoirs, I will say that I would hire more people sooner. That's one of the lessons that I've learned is hire sooner than you think. But to see that come together in an event like this, it's... I'm sure you can understand why I would feel pretty emotional. Yeah,
no, it's impressive, and
thank you.
And I'm very happy that it's back, and happy for you for all your success.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming by and spending some time with us. It's a great event. We're happy to be here.
So glad that you're here, and thanks for chatting with me. I got to say, it was a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.